Hey there, in this video, I'm going to walk you through how I go about maintaining a production and development environments or development workflows in n8n. And this is really important if you have a production workflow that is running and it's active for a client or for yourself, and you don't want to stop this, work on it, and then basically bring the system down. If you need to make changes to like one of these nodes here, or you need to update the system prompt or something like that, right? So this is a very simple process I follow, and I want to explain it to you now. So how I usually go about it, this is one of the many ways, is that I have a production workflow. I give my workflow some name. You can come up with the name yourself, but I give it some name, and then at the end, I just have these square brackets, and I have the environment, like production hyphen some version, and the same for this one here. The name, square brackets dev / version, right? So that's how I name up my workflows. Let me just fix the zoom here. What's going on? Let me just reload that. There we go. Anyways, and with these workflows, I follow something called semantic versioning. It is a very popular schematic or it's just a very popular way to version software and releases. So when you continuously work on stuff on your like software or your n8n workflows or whatever, you use the semantic versioning. And a very popular one is that n8n also follows it. So you can see n8n, they're still on version 1, but since they've released back in 2019, if you go back to like version 10, will that load? Yeah, so they've been on version 1, but they've increased this minor version over and over and over again. So you're welcome to give this a read in your own time, but that is called semantic versioning. And I follow that to maintain versions. I also maintain a little work log here of the dev work. So in this example, I'm actually going to fix a bug on this workflow. It doesn't consider the max runs that I've got set down here, max items. So I'm actually going to fix this in this YouTube video for you. So the next thing besides the name and that kind of thing is I have a set fields. I have a beginning of all my workflows. I have a setup and environment. And what this does is I firstly have a little flag here that says production, true, false. And the reason why I love including this is that further down in the workflow, I can make some decisions, right? So if, in this case, publishing to Webflow, if I want to publish, or if I set this thing to live, it's based on the publish field that is also set here. So publish is true if production is true. So it's kind of redundant, but basically what we want to do is we'll only publish if we on a production workflow. There's other cases where you can be a bit more specific, and you can send emails from a test email or from the production email. I've done that in other cases, but it is just a very good practice. It's a practice in software engineering. You have a production flag, true, false, and then the application knows if it's running in a production environment, it does certain things or has a certain behavior or not, right? So I set up my environment here, and then I've got my Google Sheet. One thing I love to do is on Google Drive, I have a separate drive here called Systems, and I have all my workflows, and then I'll have my dev folder as well as my production folder, and these are two different spreadsheets. So you can see here, this is the production spreadsheets. These are all the publications of the blog posts, and this is, the production spreadsheet. This ID is represents this one here. So if I open this, you can see BYY BYY. It's the same ID that I use in my workflow. So the great thing about all this setting up an environment and everything allows me to take this workflow and release it into this production workflow. And I'm going to explain that in a moment really quickly. I just want to go about fixing this workflow. So let me do that quick. So we've got the fix in, and what I do is if I've got a fix, I just bump this to 1.4, and you can see here I should have updated this, but in progress, it's done. We are going to make this 1.1.4, and this is how I track all my releases. So once the work is done, I'll create a new release here. This is just for like personal tracking of how I, track that some release notes. I fixed the blog post being generated in 2024 instead of 2025. This was like something that kind of irritated my client. But I will change that release, and then what the next step is to just clear that. I'm going to click download. So now that I've tested this, I've execute workflow, make sure that it works as expected. We can click download here, and it's saved to my downloads. So in this production workflow, I don't want to interrupt this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new workflow here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to click File, Import. I'm going to go to Downloads. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to click File, Import. I'm going to go to So what I'm going to do is click File, Downloads, and we'll click Import. And then this is the new version, right? So I'm going to copy this, change that out to production. I'm going to change the little tag here to production. And then one thing is I'm going to switch this from production. I'm going to change the Google Sheet. So you can see here we're on the production one. I'm going to copy this whole ID. And then I'm going to replace it. The Webflow site ID is the same. The max runs 20. So I want to create 20 blog posts. Maybe not. Maybe just like 2 or something. I don't want to do 20. Maybe just 2. And this all stays the same, right? So once you are kind of happy with the import, just give it a quick run. Make sure that it actually publishes and works. And then what we're going to do is something called like a Canary release. It's a software release strategy that many companies follow. But basically, you're going to deactivate this workflow. So it's deactivate that one. And this will stop any existing run. So it will, if this was active and there was something running in here, and you switch it to deactive, it'll just stop the current runs, right? And it'll complete the last run. And once that is finished, you can just click activate on this new one, click got it. And then we have the new version deployed, 1.1.4. It is up and going, and it will start to actually run. And this is the release, right? So this is a very, very efficient and fast way to make changes to your workflows and maintain a good quality standard, right? So a lot of the time in n8n, it's easy and it's tempting just to make some changes on your active workflow, and then things break and they don't work as expected. But the kind of the deficit here, or the detrimental thing rather, is that your active workflow breaks and it stops your clients from working. Their businesses they don't come to a halt, but like some process in their businesses stops working as expected. So this is a very simple way I found that we can deploy from development to production on an n8n instance, and you can easily roll back, right? So if 1.1.4 is to break, I can just deactivate and then click activate again. So I'm rolling back to a previous version of this workflow. And that's really the beauty about it, is you don't want to delete these previous versions here. You're welcome to do that for dev. I mean, because dev is hopefully you've been downloading it. I would recommend that you download every version, and store them in Google Drive. But you don't want to delete your production versions or your previous workflows, because you can easily just roll back without having to fight and figure out the stupid version history stuff. I mean, this works, it's great, but what brings you peace of mind is like, this is an actual release. The same for n8n. If you go to releases here, if they were to release something that is catastrophic, they'll probably just create like a hot patch. But for like n8n's my n8n.cloud, I think that's what it's called. They will if they deploy something to everyone's hosted n8n cloud, they will just deploy a previous release. And that's kind of what you are doing here, is that you can easily roll back to a version that was working, and you can make the client happy again. Again, this is just a quality assurance and assessment. Another way about doing this, instead of having like these different workflows, is you actually have different n8ns. So an n8n instance, what you could do is, if you go to n8n, you could have something like n8n staging. I know this doesn't work, but you could have an n8n staging or development instance where you do all your work, and then your n8n maybe production. This is where it runs all your production workflows. The great thing about this is that you can keep all your credentials the same names, right? So you don't have to go about, I mean, I'm reusing the same credential here, but you can keep everything the same name, and then you just release to a different instance. Obviously, there's a cost to running a separate n8n instance here, like a dev one and then production one. But it is, I mean, I would recommend that over doing this split workflow thing. It's just a cost effectiveness. So yeah, this is pretty much the workflow I follow for releasing n8n dev. Make a change, release it, test it, make sure it's good, and then if there's an error or critical error, I just roll back really easily. And that's that. I hope you enjoyed this video. Stay tuned for the next one. Cheers.